And the second question I have for y'all, my second question, do you think, and Jason, I want you to answer this first. I'm gonna come to you first. Do you think that it? I don't know, man. Just because I feel feeling froggy, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump. Listen,
let's do it.
Here's our second question. Do you think that 90s R&B fostered this idea that women are not required to bring anything to the table because they are the table?
Yes. Read some of the lyrics that we've just read, that we've just gone over. I mean, I think it did present a, I think it was like the seed form of happy wife, happy life, rather than, I agree with that question. I say, yes, it did in the affirmative.
Yeah. Harrison, what about you, bro?
Repeat that question. I was like reading these lyrics.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Do you think that 90s R&B fostered this idea that women are not required to bring anything to the table because they are the table?
I think it helped. I think it did help. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but I think it definitely did help. Because if we look at today, right, this is not like everybody, but there's, general conversations about expectations in relationships. And when you talk to people, there are clear-cut expectations for men in dating to prove that they would be a good husband. They're clear-cut expectations. Pay for the dinner. Pick the ladies up, which I agree with. So I'm not like knocking it. Men have expectations in the dating phases to prove that they are quality, they're going to be a quality husband. But when the discussion comes full circle and we start discussing the expectations that women would have to show that they were going to be a good wife, it's no, you get that when we get married. Now, certain things, yes, you get when you get married. But what are those expectations that are taught to young ladies that would show a young man that they are wife material? They're not taught that. They're not taught that. We're taught that in our songs. We're taught that from our mothers. We may even be taught that from our fathers, right? But do we know who's teaching the women that for them? And I think, the 90s R&B songs really help with it. I wouldn't say it's like the, sole, proponent of why, but it definitely helped.
Yeah, definitely. Rick, what you think, bro?
So, I wouldn't say that women have to bring nothing to the table. I kind of went over to the other side of this for a second to think about some of the songs that women were singing in the 90s, right? Back to men, right? In response to, I guess, some of the simping and blues that was happening on the other end, according to somebody who was early. And if you look at songs like Sade, who sung songs like No Ordinary Love, right? So there was give back, I'll just say, on that end, right? Like, so she talked about all the love that she gave, all the stuff that she put out there, Sade, like all the stuff that she kind of was bringing to the table. So it wasn't as if there was nothing being brought to the table on the other end. There's other songs, right, where women are talking about the stuff that they bring brought to the table. And so I wouldn't say that it was a time period where women were kind of required not to bring anything to the table, right? Maybe it was, maybe it's a match, like when did Scrubs come out?
90s.
What year?
It was like 95, 94.
So
Scrubs? Well, no, I think that was more like 98. Let's find out.
No, really?
94. I don't think it was that.
That was like 95, wasn't it?
Was it? Okay, good. 99.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
99.
Maybe 96 at the most. I'll look it up.
It was 99. So you're gonna put it in the chat.
All right, cool. So if Scrubs came out in 99, then maybe brothers had made a switch. But Rick,
let me ask you a question. Rick.
Yes, sir.
What was modern women today, like women between the ages of 40 and 25, were they listening to Sade in the 90s, or were they listening to TLC or Adina Howard, and y'all better not ever listen to Adina Howard.
Come on,
like,
now.
Should have been listening to Sade.
Like, what were they listening
Adina
to?
Howard. That's my.
Yeah.
Come on now. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Like,
all right.
Like even then, like they weren't listening to songs like from Tamia, and like they were listening to craziness. Like it was the 20 at that time. It was a 25 and up, listening to nice wholesome R&B like Tamia.
So, if we kind of look at, I don't know exactly what her numbers looked like back then, like numbers wise, like sales wise, right? Yeah. But but there were a lot of people listening to Sade. Let's not act like Sade became a household name because nobody listened to her. Does that make sense? They were definitely They were definitely listening to her, right?
But wait, Bedina, good. Like that's a great point. Like you was at 19. How many of your friends was listening to Sade at 19?
Listen, come on. That's what I'm about to say. Listen.
I had friends listening to Sade too.
Sade was that mature group, but Adina Howard was hitting the streets, bro.
She's on them streets.
Talking about all night. He got to be
in
able
them
to do
streets.
it to the early morn, all night. First of all,
I was listening to Sade.
You quoting them lyrics about. Like something.
Yeah, that's what I'm
you
talking
quoting
about.
Freak Like Me?
Unrealistic.
The lyrics, player. Take it down a notch.
Yeah.
Is that what you're quoting?
Yeah. So, but
like
you know
me?
what though? I think this is also a continuation of this conversation because I know we're talking about male R&B singers, but if we look at female R&B singers at the time, right? There was a huge contrast there. There was a huge contrast of the Adina Howards, right? And then you had the Sades and you had the Tamias. And I know Tamia and Sade R&B-ish. Sade's music wasn't really 90s R&B. It was more like a soul, R&B soul or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was a dichotomy there. Like
you got SWV during that time too, though, with songs like "Weak."
Yeah. That's a good point.
You have Lauryn Hill during that time, right?
But Lauryn Hill is in a class by herself. There's nobody.
Yeah, that's a little different.
I love Lauryn Hill. Like this.
That's a little different.
So to me, she's my favorite artist of all time, male, female.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Lauryn Hill's my favorite artist.
I leave out of this situation.
Yeah. She can't. There's nobody. I don't care what crazy song you can find of her. I'm not going to find any fault in Lauryn Hill.
But
I find no faults.
No, I'm kidding.
I find no faults in Sade or Anita Baker. I don't even know what she's saying at the time.
Look, honestly, that's why I brought them up to you fellas. I knew they would be able to pass by with no problem, right? And so, but that's the fact, right? I feel like when you ask, right, did they feel like that to bring nothing to the table? Did women feel like that during that time? We can only search through the lyrics of what they were saying to see if they actually felt like that. Right, because these are women speaking during that time, and these are women sharing their feelings during that time, right? When we have it recorded, and were they feeling like that? And I don't believe they were feeling at the time that they had to bring nothing to the table. I don't believe that, because of what I'm seeing in their lyrics that they were saying back to us. That's my answer to that question.
Yeah. I feel you, and honestly, man, I think even in today's climate, right? Because listen. For all the the smoke we give in the 90s R&B, the lyrics was way up there, but there was a hint of romanticism to the lyrics. All right, it was more romantic, and I honestly, most people are very nostalgic when it comes to 90s R&B because nowadays all the music is about smash and dash. All right. That's what it's about. There's no romanticism in the music anymore. There's no talking about love. They ain't saying I give good love. They saying something else. All right. They saying something else. It's all about smash and dash. No emotion. None of that. You know what I'm saying? And so I do want to say this about the 90s R&B. Listen, now that we are married, praise God. Listen. There was some nice songs to listen to. I ain't mad at it.
Hey, bro. We got down. I passed by a lot of this stuff because I was trying to stay PG-13. But there's a lot of songs that I just did not mention, right? Because we said the same thing. We just said it poetically, and some of us didn't say it quite poetically.
Oh, all day. Listen. Because we have our second segment that's finna start with our marriage panel. So y'all sit tight. Y'all in the audience, y'all sit tight. Because we got a second segment that's finna come. We got the Scots all the way in Los Angeles, California that's finna join us here in a minute. But before we jump into that, I want to go on to our last question. And y'all, I'm about to jump out the window on this one. And I really don't care. Some of y'all finna get upset, but you know what? It's a conversation that needs to be had. I'm gonna start it off with Jason once again.
Come on,
Jason. Here's the question. It's gonna leave us out of here, and we're gonna y'all stay on the live because we're gonna segue. We're gonna have a 3-minute intermission, and we're gonna segue into our marriage panel. We're gonna have our wives on here. It's gonna be me and Nikki, the Scots joining us from Los Angeles, and Jason and his lovely wife from Dear Woke Christian. It'll be 3 married couples on here. The Scots are newlyweds, and we are looking forward to it. But listen, without further ado, the last question for this session is, do you believe every black woman is a queen? I have to ask that, and the reason why I asked that question is controversial because what I'm finding is there's a lot of people out there who feel as if they should be worshipped.
You know what I find? I find that you're trying to ruin people's marriages with that question.
Hey, listen, bro. Listen. I'm not discussing anything that I haven't discussed with my wife. And listen, you'll be surprised.
You straight. That's what you're saying. You straight. That's exactly what you're talking about.
Straight. I am straight.
Well, he put the question in the chat earlier this week. Though. You should have been asking the question. He did give you a warning.
I did put it in the chat. I put it in the chat like a couple weeks ago.
Yes, he did.
And Jason responded quickly. Go ahead and let the people say it loud for the people in the back.
No. There you go. I'm gonna let y'all just hang out there for a second.
Let it marinate.
Let it marinate for a second. Let it marinate for a second. No, just like I don't believe that every man is a king. Like now, in your household, you can be a king and your wife can be a queen. Absolutely. If that's how you want to roll, that's what you do. Y'all do what you do when you shut your doors. However, I do think we have to have a sane evaluation of ourselves and say, hey, you know what? I don't dot all my I's and cross all my T's. I don't do everything exactly right. Now, for sure, don't need to be worshipped. I appreciate that my family respects me and honors me as the head of this household, who God has put in this role. And I'm glad for the opportunity to serve my family and to hopefully bring them back to the Lord as God, this is what I've done with the gifts and the beautiful children that you've given me. And at the end of the day, that I will hear, well done. But I don't need to be worshiped. I'm just, as the scriptures say, I'm an unprofitable servant. And I'm serving these I got all girls. I got 2 girls and a wife. So I'm serving these women with all of my intention of bringing them back to the Lord. So she's my queen, absolutely. She's my rib, my side, all that kind of good stuff. But at the end of the day, I recognize that she's just something. She's what God has given me, and I don't worship what God has given me. I worship the one that's given her, and those girls. There we go.
Air horn.
Harrison, what's up, bro?
All right.
I love the air horn.
So I know, and there's a reason why. There is no higher title in my house than that of my wife. Okay? You can be a queen, all right? And if there's so many other queens out there, they can have that title, right? The only title that matters to me is my wife. Right? So you can consider yourself whatever you want, all right? If Michelle Obama was to call me up while I'm sitting with my wife, all right, I'm not giving her my attention. My wife is going to have my attention. If the Queen of England says, hey, Andre, I need you to fly over the pond, and my wife takes precedence over any queen, all right, over any queen. So you can use that whole title of queen and stuff. And I think the certain terms today lose its meaning, which means that it holds no weight anymore. Mm-hmm. And like, as you said before, like I don't do the whole, king and whole queen thing. And for me in my house, right? The only king is Jesus. And I may be the head of my home, but my wife is my wife, and that's her role. That's who she is to me. And nobody else I can refer to as my wife. Nobody else. So I don't ascribe to the whole queen thing.
Rick, what's up, brother? Now listen, I'm sorry. Now listen, I will give you grace. You got a date tonight, so you might not have to answer this.
You get a pass. You get a pass.
If you want to plead the fifth, that's cool, brother. Just let me know.
I don't have to plead it. I'll just kind of speak from this perspective. So y'all, I wonder if this question is coming from Monique, right? Who kind of put it out there just a few weeks ago. Did y'all see when Monique kind of went crazy?
No, I didn't. But I heard
So-
what she had to say last summer, and Ayanla Van Zant. I heard what she had to say too.
So Monique comes out and she says, so she put out this thing on Twitter. She was walking on the beach, right? And she was thinking about all the queens of the past. And she kept thinking about, black women saying, hey queen, hey queen, hey queen this. And then she comes on Twitter and she says, do we qualify to give ourselves the title of queen? Are we queens in training? Right? And so she talked about, this whole concept of being a queen in training, earning your crown, basically. Right. I guess through maturity, life experience, you know what I mean? Earning those qualifications that would, allow you to get there, right? For queen. And she said, I love you. I love us for real, beautiful sisters. And then she went into all the other queens that she had seen in the past, Queen Candace, Queen Nefertiti, right? And the stuff that they had. Queen Candace is an Ethiopian queen, right? Who defended her kingdom against the Roman Empire armies. And so she talked about what it takes to be a true queen. Now, with all that being said, right? My wife often finds it very cringy for people to go out and say, "Hey, queen this, queen that, queen this," right? But I understand why there are a lot of why black women kind of say that, because for a very long time, society has done its absolute best to crush the mindset, right, of our women, right? And so they have done their best to say they're not the most beautiful women on the planet. The most beautiful women on the planet come from here, or they come from there, or they come from some other place. And our black women don't always feel valued on that level, right? They don't always feel valued to the level of, I deserve that type of respect. I deserve that type of honor or admiration. Right now, I love the fact that we even do this, because you see in the 90s so many guys, showing so much admiration for our sisters. Does that make sense? There was a lot of admiration apparently hidden in our song. And so they say it wasn't there. It was there. It was there in the 90s. It just left in 1999 when Scrubs came out. But either way, now, for a very long time, they haven't felt like that, and so I understand why they do it. They want to hold on to that. They want to feel like they want to have that self-value, and that self-value matters, right? So yes, I honor all black women in that way, right? I want to show all. It's not my responsibility to show that to all, black women across the world, right? That you're all queen, all women in general, that you're all queens. I can't really say that's not my place. But at the same time, I do believe that they deserve that honor, respect, admiration, right? I believe that's owed to every woman. So the queen title is one thing, but honor, respect, admiration, and eventually to find love in some man that would actually be that for them all the time. I pray that for all women, right? And so I would say that. I wouldn't say the queen title is whatever.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad y'all all manned up and you said no or whatever. And I'm going to just double down and say no, emphatically no. Here's why. Because I have a problem. One of the things that I really am going to start getting onto on our channel, I have a mini series within a series called Beware of the Pseudo Christian Woman. All right. And we're going to talk about ethnic image and all that. But one of the things that really drives me crazy is, why do we, if we're queens, why do we go around calling each other bees? All right.
Have you not heard of the queen bee?
No, listen.
Oh my God!
Which one? From the 90s or from the 2000s?
With ditch. Why do we go around calling each other bees?
I know.
All right? Listen. Did you trade in your tiara for a hair bonnet in the airport, in Walmart? I have our children pointing out like our children. Listen, I want all the smoke. I really don't. I got our kids in the grocery store like, why does that woman have a bonnet? Or they'll have their friends getting picked up by their mama, and their mama got a bonnet on. Like, wait a minute, yo, when did you trade a tiara for the bonnet? Let me know. All right, because all I know is when I was coming up, all right, my mama wouldn't be caught dead with her rollers in her head in public or a bonnet. But for some odd reason, this modern woman stuff, we just feel like, hey, It's my right to look a fool. Well, you want to look a fool, go right ahead, but you're not gonna get far in life. Here's another question. All right. You won't listen. You want to be treated like a queen, but you have peasant qualities. You have peasant qualities. All right. Come on. This is the same chick. Listen. You want the title of a queen, but you got the qualities of a peasant. We were just in Walmart. Now, this is some woman that if you asked her, she said, "Oh yeah, I'm a queen," right? But she was cussing out her kids like they were grown-ups. The kids were no older than 5. There was like one boy looked like he was 5, the girl looked like she was 3, and she was cussing them out sideways like they were grown-ups. I'm like, wait a minute. You can't have it both ways. You can't demand to be called and declared a queen, and then you act a fool everywhere you go. All right?
I think that's the byproduct of everybody being a queen.
Listen, your scent, that scent that comes from you, is not Dior. It's cannabis. All right?
Well, you out of control.
Why? We got too many of that. And we're gonna have some women come on the panel here later on. And I want some, some of them are offended. My wife is offended by some of this stuff because you have a lot of women out here. They're ruining the image for the women who are holding it down for real. And y'all know what I mean. So we can't say on one hand, hey, declare me a queen when you don't even act like one. All right. So your ethnicity does not make you a queen. When you start resembling Proverbs 31, then we got something to talk about. Go ahead.
And if I can make, let's again, meaning is everything, because correct. I think when they refer to queen, they refer to status. They don't consider how one becomes a
presentation.
Queen. Yeah. Or how one becomes a queen. Because again, let's just objectively look at it. Okay. Queen Elizabeth came into power because of her bloodline. Okay. If she wasn't, all right, then she would have to be married into it. There's really 2 ways. So kings conquered, which is how they became king. Okay. But for a queen to be a queen, you gotta just look at it objectively. If I'm gonna call myself a queen, that means that I am willing to marry a king. Okay. All right. Or my father's a king, and if he dies, it may fall upon me to be a queen. So I think, and if you're a Christian man and somebody calls you a king, our response should be, all right, there's no king but Jesus. So,
but that's not true. Okay, tell me. Okay, tell me why that's true. I would say that there are kings, right? There's been kings all forever. There's kings now, right?
But I'm not though. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Right. If I was a king of a country, that's different.
Am I not the king of my castle?
No, you're really not.
So you're owner of your home.
Yeah. I am a king,
right?
I'm the owner of my home, king of my castle. There were kings in the Bible, right? Like David. We talk about David for a second, who was a king, right? But the thing that made David such a special king, a remarkable king, is that he understood that even as a king, right, he was still under somebody else's rule.
But
does that make sense? He submitted himself to God.
But also, a king has citizens under his rule. So unless you have citizens, and I'm not talking about children, I'm talking about citizens. Unless you have citizens, right? Like and this is just for the sake of meaning, because I know that like terms like that, like I can't front, like back when I was single, I had some ladies in my DM say, "Hey King," made me feel good. But if we just look at it as far as the meaning is concerned, right? Because in today, like a lot of words lose weight because of it. Yes, there are kings that exist today, right? There are. Yeah. But unless I have like citizens paying taxes to me, and I'm able to govern them, I'm not really a king.
Correct.
And I think that's just what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's the bigger question. Like, I'm sorry, like, you can call yourself a king all day, but if you are here selling poison to your people, are you really a king?
That's right.
If you don't go to work and earn your keep, are you really a king? if you don't take care of your kids like you're supposed to, are you really a king?
Wait though,
Like,
but
you
what
know-
if I do all that? Am I still, according to what you said, I'm still not a king?
I just think that there's I can see what people are trying to do, because for so long we've been like kind of pushed down in this country. We have, all right. So we're trying to it's almost like we're overcorrecting a little bit. Y'all see what I'm trying to say? Like we're trying to overcorrect because of the years of oppression and stuff like that. And I get it. We were look 2/5 of a man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, who wouldn't want to hear the word king? And I can hear the sentiment of what they're saying.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna be called that, let's resemble some type of virtue. Let's be noble. Let's be the men of valor, as the Bible mentioned. Let's be that. Let's just don't. Hey, you know, I'm gonna live life by the seat of my pants. You know what? I'm a king because I'm black. No, I can't rock with that. Like you gonna have to show me something. Like, and even then, just be careful. Don't think more highly of yourself than you ought to think.
Come on.
Then you ought to think. Not that you have some esteem about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like carry some pride, you know, not foolish pride. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about have some pride and some dignity about yourself. But when it comes to thinking of yourself more highly than you ought to think, I think that becomes problematic. And when you base it on ethnicity, I think it's even worse. We're doing the exact thing that we say we don't want done to us.
Yeah, but I think, I think when it comes to the king part, right? I think a lot of that has to do with the historical erasing of black royalty in Africa. So I think, you know, for a couple of years we've heard and there's been a resurgence of, remember, there were black kings in Africa. There were black kings who were prominent. In fact, in history, Mansa Musa was one of the richest kings in all of history. You know, so I think, I understand why, because when you, again, as you said prior, you know, Rick, black women and black men have been held down, specifically in America, for so long. Because I'm not sure if that whole king narrative exists outside of the United States. It's a lot here. I haven't been overseas, so I don't know, right? If you know, in Nigeria, you know, all men are be called kings and all women are called queens. But here, we have had black history taught to us, right? From slavery, the slave trade, 1611 to now. So in America specifically, black history and black identity starts during the transatlantic slave trade. So we don't have any prior knowledge before that about black kings. So I think the reason why, and I think it's what you're saying before about the swinging of the pendulum going in the opposite extreme. Overcorrecting. Yeah.
I don't think it's a complete overcorrection, only because the real thing kind of came from what you're saying right now. Dre, you said that there's this whole thing of we're descendants of slaves. So I've seen this in like a big conversation where somebody say, we are descendants of slaves. We are descendants of, you know, people who used to be like under the foot of, you know, of quote unquote the white man. We were under the foot of this particular man, and that's kind of who we are. And we rose from that to where we are. And then there's a whole another group of people who basically said, no, you are descendants of kings and queens. And you need to walk like that and act like that and understand that you are descendants of kings and queens. And so that you're descendants of kings and queens, we just kind of basically remove the you are descendants of and basically just start living in the kings and queens part. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man. To put this to bed, I'll say this. If we started trying to live like we kings and queens, we'd be in a lot better place.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
We got a lot of people talking about king and queen with their mouth, but there's nothing about their day-to-day activities that resembles anything like a queen. You want to be called in high esteem and these high titles, but you got peasant qualities. And when we don't start, and if we don't start mirroring what the word of God has to say about us, forget culture. If we don't start mirroring what the word of God has to say about us, we'll never move forward.
Said she never gonna fold on me, and I ain't never fold on you. Say you always gonna hold me down, cause you know this love is true. Baby, let me love you. Let me love you. Let me love